Press record and then.
Good morning, everybody. We are very excited to talk with you about the Farm Bill today, which we already heard about last week. We're going to talk about SNAP in particular, which is a critically important part of the Farm Bill. And right now, it's basically under siege in Congress. The Farm Bill is the primary food and agricultural policy tool of the United States government. A new version is debated and usually passed every 5 years or so. The last one was 2008, and before that 2002. And a wide array of issues are legislated through the Farm Bill, including food access, which we're going to talk about today, and other issues like food safety, international trade of crops, and of course agricultural subsidies, which we heard about last week. The Farm Bill began as the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1933. This was during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl in the Midwest that made so many farmers struggle during that time. That first bill actually introduced a new tax system where the processors of farm crops were taxed based on their usage, and then that tax revenue was used to subsidize farmers. That was actually ruled unconstitutional a couple of years later, but in 1938 a revised act was passed that did away with that farm system, or that tax system, and just used the general tax fund to subsidize farmers and to fund the Farm Bill.
The current Farm Bill, the 2008 version, also known as the Food Conservation and Energy Act of 2008, is an example of an omnibus bill. It's a huge piece of legislation. It is 1,770 pages. It's no surprise that it takes 5 years to get revised. There's a lot to cover. The legislation has topics ranging from commodities to livestock to energy research, like biodiversity. The biggest title is Title 4, which is the nutrition title. It receives a majority of the funding. The other programs in Title 4 include the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which provides food, nutrition for low-income Americans and seniors. The Food Distribution Program on Indian reservations, which provides nutrition access and education to American Indians and non-Indians living on reservations. There's assistance for food banks and soup kitchens. There's also the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and what that does is provides coupons so that seniors can go to local farmers markets and use these coupons to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. Very cool. There's also programs for nutrition education and marketing, but the biggest program in Title IV is SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's formerly known as the Food Stamp Program. In 2011, it received $76.7 billion, and for 2012, the proposed Senate Farm Bill is proposed to receive 3/4 of it.
Okay, so as Ryan already mentioned, the basis of SNAP was started as part of the Agricultural Adjustment Act. The Federal Surplus Relief Corporation was started as an effort to help farmers who were suffering due to crop prices dropping, and they didn't know what to do with their excess crops. So the federal government stepped in and purchased these crops at a discounted rate and distributed them to hunger relief agencies across local communities. So 6 years later, in 1939, the food stamps plan was put into effect under Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal program. So low-income households were able to purchase food stamps to then purchase food items that were in surplus. In 1943, the program ended as a result of World War II and an economic boom that greatly reduced the rate of poverty in America. So over the next 60 years, the program went through many revisions and changes. It suffered through cuts and then also thrived when some of those were restored. So today, in recent years, legislation has been working to make the program have a new focus on nutrition. So in 2008, the program was renamed to SNAP. The reason for this name change, again, was to reinforce the new focus of nutrition and making healthy foods available to low-income households. And today, SNAP is the largest federal food assistance program in the country. It serves over 14% of the American population, which is about 46 million Americans. Many proposals are being considered right now to regulate the program and supporting healthy food choices by making the stamps usable at farmers markets, for example, and restricting the use on sugary beverages.
So I'm going to rewind a little bit to 1966 and talk about the Child Nutrition Act of 1966. So at that time, Congress recognizes that there was a relationship between food and good nutrition and the capacity of children to develop and learn. So they started their pilot program, which lasted 2 years, and it started off with breakfast in schools, and it was for children in poor economic conditions. The breakfasts were required to meet the nutritional standards established by the Secretary of Agriculture. So as we've heard from other groups in ours, this SNAP, or sorry, next slide please. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So you're eligible to do the Child Nutrition Act that I just previously talked about if you are already in SNAP FDPIR, which stands for Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, or TANF, which stands for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And so what I decided to look at was the actual, fast forwarding to now, if you wanted to participate in the Child Nutrition Act, how would that work? So if you are not in any of these groups, I found that there are actually quite a few loopholes in the application that would help you to still participate. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about the application process. So it is a 15-page application. It was relatively easy to find online. It sounds long, but it actually was completely reasonable for me in my state of mind at that point of the day to understand. So 15 pages in 2 to 3 page chunks, some are explanations, some are things you have to turn into teachers, get this signed. But I would say as far as a government application of something you have to fill out, it was not that bad. It comes in 33 different languages. And just to note, if you are in WIC, you may be eligible to participate. And also, if you had somebody in your house who was not a U.S. citizen, surprisingly, you were able to participate, which I thought was very nice. So I was pleasantly surprised with the process. And it also gives you an option that if you want to have this application be communicated with Medicaid or SHIP, another program, then you could do that. So it kind of just is good with facilitating. You know, it's a struggle if you have no money, so I think any sort of helpfulness is good. And at the end of the application, it actually says, to save you time and effort, the info you gave on your free and reduced price school meals application may be shared with other programs for which your children may qualify. We must have your permission to share your info and to send this, and this will not affect whether or not you get your reduced price meals.
So SNAP benefits serve to improve the nutritional status and increase independence amongst those who are unemployed or underemployed due to the recession. The forms of benefit is an electronic benefit, and it provides, electronic benefit cards for bread, milk, cheese, and other household staples that you may need. SNAP aims to serve 46 million, or 1 out of 7 people in our country, helping, SNAP assists the elderly, a particularly vulnerable population. In 2010, SNAP lifted 3.9 million people out of the poverty line. 1.9 of those people were children. The current House bill cut spending by $35 billion over 10 years as compared to the Senate's $23 billion. If spending cuts are implemented as proposed, an estimated 500,000 households may lose their SNAP benefits. Individual earners would lose upwards of $133 a month, where households of a larger size would be $290 with SNAP benefits, which is a huge amount of money. The proposed House cuts currently would take $16 billion away from SNAP versus $4.5 billion in the Senate. The Senate's aim with the proposed cuts is to improve program integrity and accountability, as it is believed that this system is riddled with fraud. However, the USDA reports that 99% of SNAP beneficiaries are eligible for the program and more than 96% receive the correct benefit. According to the USDA Food and Research Action Center, the SNAP program brings federal dollars into communities in the form of benefits which are redeemed at SNAP available locations. This stimulates the economy through bringing money into our communities. For every $5 in new SNAP benefits, communities gain $9. On average, $1 billion of retail demand by SNAP participants generates close to 3,000 jobs. SNAP helps families become financially stable while making transitions to self-sufficiency, as well as elevates our GDP by 1.73%.
So there has been some question and criticism around whether or not the SNAP program is a true social safety net or if it's something that's being taken advantage of, and if there are any policies that are put into place to ensure that that's there. The policy that's in place now, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996, states that able-bodied adults who are not working are limited to only 3 months of SNAP benefits in a 3-year period. So that ensures that if you are able-bodied and able to work, that you are going to be getting assistance through a training program. There's a work training program. You have to be taking part in that for at least 20 hours a week in order to keep getting these benefits, and they can only be there for 3 months. There are some exceptions if you're under 18 years of age, or if you're over 15 years of age, if you're responsible for the care of a child or incapacitated household member, medically certified as physically or mentally unfit to work. If you're pregnant, that also would be considered in there. And there is also a waiver that is granted for people who are living in areas where the unemployment rate rises to above 10% and there's insufficient jobs available. So a waiver can be granted to a state in that case. And you know, at this point, half of all new participants leave SNAP within 10 months of receiving the benefits. So it definitely is a social safety net that's being used for transitional periods rather than something that's being taken advantage of on a long-term basis. So with the proposed cuts in the Farm Bill, you know, it is kind of thoughtless and dangerous. It would certainly bring up quite a few issues. The food instability issue, as Marianne was saying, there are 3.6 million people, 1.7 million of them are children that are brought above the poverty line due to the SNAP program. If SNAP benefits were eliminated, that would bring a lot more people back into hunger, certainly, and also poverty. So that's one area that is a big deal. And the lower test scores, we were talking a little bit about the Child Nutrition Act and how that is tied to the SNAP program. If the SNAP program cuts are put into place, then cuts to the Child Nutrition program can also be a result of that. And that could result in no school lunches, no free lunches that are being provided right now. And that certainly is a direct correlation to how children do in school, lowering test scores, lowering their productivity in the school systems. We also talk about the employee absenteeism. This is due simply to the fact, you know, people are hungry, eating less nutritious food, if they have less access to nutritious options, their health conditions will rise and their productivity will decrease. And so that creates that issue. And then of course there is the rise in the healthcare costs with anything. When we talk about obesity, we talk about diabetes, we talk about all of these different conditions that, you know, will be on the rise if there is no access to nutritionally healthy food and people are forced to eat cheaper options that are perhaps, you know, quick and filling and cheap, but bringing us to the issue of healthcare going up. So in the end, there's going to be a lot of things that are, you know, by making these cuts, the saving of money wouldn't be as strong as we think it would. It would create other areas where money would rise.
So now I want to discuss the current status of the bill. So we all know that the most recent session of Congress finished in September, and this bill did not come up for a vote. So why did it not come up for a vote? So election politics plays a big role in this. As we all know, it's a very important election year. And for example, the chairman of the Committee on Budget is Paul Ryan, and he proposes $33 billion in cuts to SNAP alone, which is substantially greater than the current bill states. So the House of Representatives, which is predominantly Republican, would like to see even greater cuts to SNAP. So it is believed that there was some stalling to not get the bill voted in, to have additional time to negotiate further cuts. So what happened on October 1st? Well, we immediately lost 5 programs to Title IV. These include a program that addresses community hunger, another that aims to increase the usage of whole grains in school for school meals, and another that surveys the foods purchased by schools. So this is done every 5 years to ensure that schools are actually conforming to dietary requirements. Those have all been removed. Fortunately, a continuing resolution was passed, so no immediate cuts to SNAP occurred, and SNAP is sort of safe, I guess, until March 2013. So Congress has a few additional months to come up with a more permanent solution.
So since Congress passed the September 30th deadline to pass a new farm bill, they have a few options. The first option is they could pass a farm bill in the lame duck session, which is November 13th till the end of the year. That's probably unlikely considering how much debate has been circulating around how much to cut SNAP. Come January in the new session, Congress has 3 options. They could issue an extension of the 2008 Farm Bill for probably a year until they have the time to rework a new Farm Bill. They could also pass the current House bill as is, which I'll discuss in a minute. And they could also do neither of those things and just allow expiration to hit full force, where we revert back to the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1938 and the Agricultural Act of 1949. This primarily has to do with crop and dairy price support. It doesn't affect SNAP and the nutrition title too much. However, block grants to Puerto Rico and American Samoa will expire, and these block grants provide nutrition assistance to these territories in lieu of SNAP. So if the current House bill passes as is, SNAP would be cut by $16 billion. That would mean 2 to 3 million people would lose SNAP benefits, and 280,000 children would lose access to free school meals due to the eligibility link between SNAP and the Child Nutrition Act. These cuts would disproportionately hit seniors, people with disabilities, and low-income working families with children. These cuts primarily come out of removing categorical eligibility, which means now caseworkers will look at gross income instead of just disposable income. So if a household, if their gross income is slightly above the 130% of the poverty line, but their disposable income is less than that, they still won't qualify. And the savings limit, someone can only have $2,000 in savings. So if they have $2,001, they won't qualify. That savings limit hasn't been updated in 25 years to reflect inflation. So these measures are nonsensical because building assets helps people climb out of poverty by investing in their future. And having assets kind of gives people little paddings to prevent going into poverty and relying on the government in old age.
So we hope you'll agree with us that the Farm Bill and SNAP are incredibly important. So we urge you to contact your congresspeople. One very easy way to do that is at congress.org. You just have your zip code in on the right side of the screen there, and it'll give you contact information, email addresses, phone numbers. for your senators and your congressperson in your district. Or you can also call this toll-free number that basically acts as a congressional switchboard. Again, you just punch in your zip code on your phone, and it'll directly contact you to your senators and congressperson. And we want to support getting a new farm bill passed as soon as possible, while also limiting the cuts to SNAP. One way to do that would be to support on the Senate side Senator Christian Gillibrand's amendment that she proposed, which would restore all $4.5 billion to SNAP, as well as provide additional funds for important programs like the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Snack Program. And of course, the most important thing you can do is go vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Great job. Good eye contact, voice projection. I like the ending with being able to just do some email stuff. Or faxing. I was about to say, what's faxing? I still fax, but. The one thing that with the SNAP, I think a lot of people don't know, and I was wondering if you guys have, you probably do, but what types of foods are like able to be purchased with the SNAP?
So you can't purchase non-food items, you can't get alcohol, you can buy fruit, vegetables, packaged items, you can't buy hot food or food in restaurants unless you're part of a special program within SNAP. You can still buy soda and snack items. You can also buy seeds to grow food. And a lot of farmers markets are implementing ways to use SNAP benefits to buy produce at the market.
Okay. Well, if we have this huge obesity epidemic and you can buy soda with SNAP, why should I be supporting it then? I'm basically supporting obesity.
There's actually no evidence that people who are low income necessarily eat more unhealthy than other people if given the option of healthy foods, which SNAP does provide.
I think you also have to look at the fact that the amount of assistance they're getting, it sounds like when I first started doing this, I thought, wow, this is a lot of money. Where is all this money going? And after talking to Christine, who knows all about it, they're not, each family unit is not getting that much money, and they actually, it's like, you know, a family of 4 is getting an additional $130 a month. How are they going to make that stretch? And if they don't have the education, the nutritional education, they're going to go for the sugar. It's like, well, this is going to last us a lot longer, so I'm going to spend my money here on this, versus spending and they might not have access to the fruits and vegetables, which are going to cost more. So they've got to spend their money where they think it's going to make the most sense.
Right. Christine, can you tell the class a little bit about the educational component that comes along with SNAP, if any? Or are they just signing up the 15-page application and then they just receive the benefits?
I don't think that there is education with that. There's education tied in with the Child Nutrition Act, but there's not education, I believe, within SNAP.
If I may,
Jamie?
speak on behalf. I did read something that was different myself. That you know, as the money is, you know, as the SNAP is given out, the benefits cards, that there is quite a bit of nutrition education that comes with it. There actually can be assistance on how to read labels at a grocery shop, how to make limited resources go a far way and stay within a healthy boundary. So that is currently part of the SNAP program. With the cuts that are being proposed, that would be seriously cutting to the education that would be given with that.
Because I could see that being sub-policy. You could write to your senator and say, as a dietitian, you know, in support of this. Because a lot of times you may be dealing with clients, like if you're working in a WIC or situation, that might need that additional education. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I know that in San Francisco, the CalFresh is called, in California it's called CalFresh instead of SNAP.
Yeah.
They're partnering with the food bank and also Leah's Pantry. They do nutrition education to do inside education. And there are also other programs, like I work in the Fill in Good project, is funded by the USDA, and they retarget SNAP